This is the 8th video of a Google Ads training course. If you're looking for the other videos, then you can look in the playlist somewhere on the screen, probably below. And then if you look in the description as well, there's a link to my website if you want to get in contact, as well as a table of contents and resources for this course. In this video, we're going to be talking about landing pages and the principles of conversion rate optimization. And this is a really high impact thing that any business owner can work on is your landing pages, specifically the copy, the design, the layout, the performance, etc. But if you are only focused on the ad side of things, trying to improve your campaigns, your keywords, your ad copy, you're going to hit diminishing returns within a few months to a year, whereas landing pages can take years to really dial in. But they can have the most impact on your conversion rates. So let's jump in first to a confusion that people have around the term landing pages. So when you hear that, you might think one page website, web page with no navigation bar. And this can be the case, but if you sent traffic from an ad to your standard home page of your website, your company website, that home page would be considered the landing page in that scenario. So the landing page is really just a single page on a website in which external sources of traffic land on after coming from that external source, usually in reference to ad traffic though. So the question is, should you develop a standalone or should you just send to a standard website? So in most industries and service verticals that you're targeting, a standard website is going to work fine so long as the design of your website is good and it follows good conversion rate optimization principles. But if your website isn't really well done, then you might want a landing page. And so some reasons why you might want a landing page that is standalone from your website. It can be on the same domain, by the way. It's just a standalone page that doesn't integrate with everything else and is no followed for SEO purposes. A reason you do this is you're looking to target a very specific niche service. So an example of this would be like in dentistry, maybe Invisalign. So if you're doing Invisalign, this is like very niche. It's different than the rest of their services in a significant way, and this might justify having a standard landing page that most people think of. Or you have a badly designed website and don't want to invest more money to redesign the entire site, in which case you could have less overhead by just doing a single landing page and targeting a single service. Or you're in a very competitive ad industry, and that means that like there's only so much you can do with your keyword targeting because all your competitors have really good ad accounts. They've hired agencies, and so the next step is you got to really dial in your landing page copy and structure and layout, etc. Or you've hit diminishing returns with traffic optimizations and you want to get your ad performance to the next level. So that basically goes hand in hand with that. So multi-page versus single page landers. So you can still have a standalone landing page that's either a single page or multi-page. You can have multiple landing pages that link together, sort of like just another iteration of your website. But these are designed different in the sense that they're not writing for Google. That's the good thing about ads. You just pay for your position. You don't have to write in a certain way to get ranked. And so the writing on this is more simple, sales emotionally backed rather than like logical and keyword stuffed. So the question then is navigation or no navigation. So a standalone landing page with no navigation works best when driving traffic based around an offer, similar to from like social platforms. So a lot of people who do social advertising, they will show like landing pages where there's no navigation, and it's pretty much what you commonly think of for a landing page. And so it's just straight to an offer. So an offer being like, get 25% off of this deal. And so in which case people just want to act very quickly. But navigation bars I find to be better, even if they are just dropping down to certain sections, because they mimic what most people are used to seeing from Google. So most websites that you come from on Google have navigation bars. And so for this reason, you don't want to stick out from everybody else. You want to actually look like all the other businesses, and it makes you look like more of a legitimate business. Once again, even if those navs jump down to a section of your one-page lander. Then the question is single page or multi-page. Well, single page is fine, but you'll miss out on using site link extensions, so that will help your CTR a little bit, or harm it, in your quality score. So having multi-pages will allow people to interact with your website, and also you can use site link extensions where people go straight to certain sections or certain pages that are also designed with crew principles in mind. So even you make like an about lander, a financing lander, guarantees lander, a portfolio lander, contact lander, and all these are just focused on converting. So let's talk about some CRO design principles that most people should apply to their landing pages. First off, it's important to note that user experience improves trust and reduces friction. So the better that your website performs, the more likely people are going to trust your business and convert into a lead as well as a customer. And all these things are going to factor into that trust because they don't want to work with someone who's unprofessional. And if your landing page screams unprofessional, then they're not going to reach out. So the first thing is to have clear and concise information. You want to address all the information that person is asking themselves. A lot of people want to hide information and think that that's going to convince people to reach out, but so that they can acquire that info. But people are lazy, especially when they are never interacted with your brand before and they're coming from Google. People are just going to jump off the page and go to a different website if you don't give them the correct info. And you want to be clear as well about what it is you're offering and not to be messy with that info. You also want fast load speeds. This is a really important one for your user experience because you're paying potentially a lot of money for a single click, and if they don't come to your website, they're never going to convert. So you want it to be fast. You don't want people getting frustrated and bouncing off the site. It's going to affect your quality score. So the best hosting you can get, the lighter the page, the better. Responsive design. So you're probably paying for ads on multiple different devices. Make sure that it's also showing well on tablets and mobile phones. You also want clear, concise, and helpful info, which I already said. So another thing that goes on top of that is sticky headers. So this kind of is in light of user experience. Having a good sticky header or a back to the top button at the bottom right of your page helps people to navigate your page easier. And also the sticky header helps to keep calls to action in view of that user while they're going down your page, which makes it more likely that they're going to convert. Next, we're going to have one section at a time. This is another principle. And I kind of imagine that a landing page is like a slide presentation, in which case each slide doesn't have too much information on it, but it also doesn't have too little. And there's a meaning for each slide. And so you can see the sections as slides. And so you don't want to overstimulate, you don't want to understimulate. They got to know that there's more below it. So you want to indicate that there's a continuation. You also want to differentiate through like dividers as well as design to differentiate your different sections. And that's it. Then a straight line persuasion. This is something that is talked about by Jordan Belfort. He's the guy from Wolf of Wall Street, and he has a course called Straight Line Persuasion. And basically, the main premise is you want to go for a sale early, as soon as you can, after giving enough emotional information, and then you only get more logical and detailed further down, and then you try to convert in different ways while handling objections. So what this essentially means is that hero section, the first thing that the person lands on, needs to give the highest quality information possible with the highest quality call to action. And then don't elaborate too much. The elaboration happens further down on that landing page. It should be very clear what you are, what you offer, why they should hire you over others, what they should do next, and why they're doing that next thing. And if you can handle that, then you'll get a lot of leads just right away. And then anyone who's not sold yet is going to go further down to read a little bit more, and that's where you expand on things. You can also handle objections as well with those bottom sections. So one objection right away is like someone sees your page and they go, well, I don't know who you are. I'm not going to give my contact information. So next section down oftentimes can be like an about section about your company. And this is going to instill more trust to show that you're a legitimate person, a legitimate company. Because keep in mind, these people are coming from online. People still don't trust ads today. So the more trust you can build, the better. Then the use of design. So a lot of people don't think design matters when it comes to conversions, but once again, if your site looks tacky, people aren't going to convert. They link that to your professionalism. And this is kind of hypocritical, because if you see my website, it doesn't look that good. But I'm driving traffic from social media content, so it's a little bit different. When you're driving traffic from just a cold search, you got to do a lot more convincing. But colors, typography, imagery, and composition convey meaning very quickly, and they also use contrast to highlight certain information and move that user's eyes to the right area and the right progression for that straight line progression sales. So colors help to differentiate CTAs, so you want your CTAs to be different colors if there are different types of CTAs. So like with the property management example, there's a get rental analysis, then there was also or a rental analysis, then there was get rates, and then there was also ask questions. So this could be like a button for a phone call that's a different color than the other two. And so that coloration difference is small, but it actually helps people to differentiate very easily. You can also use this for headlines, your body text, your backgrounds, all that jazz. Typography as well is used to highlight key information. So headlines, bold, italics, underlines, don't get crazy with that, but do note that that is all used to move the person's eye very quickly, because when people are using a website, they're scanning. They're not necessarily reading everything from start to finish. So you want to be able to scan through all your highlighted areas and pick up basically what it is you're trying to say. Use high quality real images. Ideally not stock or vector. Vector is fine at points. So like if you're just doing quick like image bullet list kind of things. But ultimately, if you can have some real images of your company, the people there, you doing work, your actual work portfolio, and not stock, then people are going to think you're a legit business. If they see too much stock stuff, then it just seems like a fake website. Page breaks, backgrounds, you want to differentiate those sections so that people know that they're moving into a different stage of that sales, and they're going to get different content and information in this new section. And that's all they see. They only see one section at a time on their screen, so that they don't get distracted and they read only what's in front of them. So make page content narrow as well, since people are scanning. And so if you have a narrow content with words, they don't have to go all the way across their screen, especially if they have a big wide screen while they're at work, in which case it can slow things down. And the faster and easier it is for them to get the information they need, the faster it is they're going to convert. And then once again, just use composition of colors and all that and to navigate to key information around your sales process. Okay, so crew development principles. We were just talking about design, but this is development, is hosting. I mean, we did talk about this already, but the faster your hosting is, the better. Load times do affect conversion rates. This is one of the easiest things that you can do. It can cost some money to hire someone to fix all your problems, but use the Google PageSpeed Insights tool, and that will give you all the details about what needs to be fixed. And then go on Upwork or Fiverr or whatever, or hire someone at your company to make those fixes. Media files and format. So reduce the resolution of your media to the size that you're going to have it on your website. You don't want things to be blurry, of course. You want that still to be high quality. Blurry imagery can show unprofessionalism. But also just make sure that they're not super heavy images, because it can slow down your load speeds. Also try to make them WebP format. This is going to increase your load speeds as well and makes those images lighter. User experience, UX, be careful of animated elements. Once again, I'm hypocritical because I have these on my current site, flip boxes, because on mobile, with a cursor, if you naturally go over it with the cursor, it will flip. But on mobile, it doesn't flip because you have no cursor, so you have to actually click on the box. So if you have content behind it, many users are going to miss out on that content because they don't know to click it. So on a mobile responsive design, you might put on that box, click to see, or something like that. Less is more when it comes to these animations as well. So if you're going to do anything with animated related, just make it simple. SSL, this is just very simple, just like hosting, secure domain for trust, right? People want to know that they're on a legitimate domain, and they're scared of putting their their email or phone or address into a random website if they're getting this little sign in the URL that this is unsecure. So you definitely want the SSL. And also add a terms of service and privacy policy footer for more trust and legality reasons. Then you also want to be A/B split testing. And talked about in earlier videos, you want to test branches, not sticks. So you want to test the smallest, most significant elements of your landing page first, because split testing can take a long time depending on how much data you're getting. And it really takes a lot more data than most people expect to make proper decisions. And so you want to make sure your early tests are really going to make an impact. And so you don't want to be changing like a color. Like a color is okay, but it's not always the best thing to do. And I would prefer to do a CTA, call to action, H1 or an H2. And you want to change those in a way that comes at things from a different angle. So if you have multiple CTAs, maybe you just do one in one version, and then the next version you do a different CTA, and you see if those conversion rates change. And then on top of all this, you want to keep your design elements the same for everything else. So you're changing just those few elements. Supporting text is also good in the hero section, so that's mostly what you're focusing on in the early stages. So the supporting text around like your form. For example, I was running ads for a sewer line installation contractor, and I put in the additional term, fill out this form to request an on-site visit with so-and-so, the owner of the company, who will reach out to you within 24 hours. I tested it with that statement above the form and without it, and increased conversion rates by like 10%. So that's what I mean by supporting text. Also bullet points, sales bullet points in that hero section can be tested, as well as design elements if you're going to be testing color changes and contrasts. But yeah, you want to keep the body content of your landing page pretty much constant until later on when you get to the point where you're testing different sections, because it's just a whole lot of work and a lot of testing to be switching that around all the time. So just keep it constant. So do it right the first time if you can, or the best you can. And website copywriting, use natural language. Since you're not writing for the search results, you're just paying for your positioning. You don't need to worry about keyword stuffing. So make it emotional, and then logical desires discovered in market research. So you want to make it emotional first, and then hit logic a little bit after. So that's that straight line persuasion strategy. Use normal language, not jargon. So there's a lot of people that use industry jargon because they're in that industry, so they're used to saying that in their job. But like, ideally, it's just natural language. A lot of B2B does this. In some circumstances, it does make sense. Like if you're in a medical industry, or it's just super niche, and just ask yourself, does your customer know this word? Do they know what's involved in that word? And you gotta have to be really real with yourself, because they might not be as educated in your field as you are. Be intentional about your navigation labeling. So this is also important. If you're using navigation, have one or two phrases, make it very clear what they're gonna do by hovering over or clicking on that link. Be very intentional with that. Be clear about why people are taking the next step in your sales process, as well as what will happen next to you. So that's exactly the example that I talked about with the little supporting text over the form. It's saying why they're doing it and what's going to happen next, and be very clear about it. And then lastly, try to match your landing page and ad copy. And specifically, your ad copy matches pretty much exactly your hero section. And so your H1, H2 supporting text will be your H1, H2, H3 description text in your ad. So there's really no difference there. And even your call to action, if you have it in an ad, is the same call to action in your hero section. So the less discrepancy, the better. Now we're going to talk about software stacks for development. Of course, like I said, I'm just jumping through this really fast, but I'm I'm not going to go into this in too much detail, but if you are trying to save some money, what you should do is just WordPress, Elementor Pro, and then split testing plugin, and that's it. And you might not have to split test. I mean, split testing is valuable, but if you're just in a low competition space, you could get away with just WordPress, Elementor Pro. Elementor Pro is a visual page builder on WordPress that allows you to build landing pages on your domain. You can just make it a different URL, no follow it, and that's it. Send ad traffic to that landing page. If you're an agency, you might want to do like Instapage or Unbounce, or go high level. Unbounce too, if you're not like a agency, is good, and you just want something that attaches to your website. These have really fast loading as well, so that's a benefit. Whereas if you do the first version, that's free. WordPress, well, not free, but WordPress Elementor Pro, cheaper. Your hosting still matters there. Whereas like Unbounce and Instapage, they have AMP hosting, so their pages are going to load very fast. And then you got Go High Level, which is like an all-in-one solution where you can do visual page building. It's also a CRM, it's also a reporting system, and all that jazz. So that's a little bit more so if you're an agency, you could do Go High Level. It's white label too, so it can differentiate your services for your clients. But if you're a business owner, just consider WordPress Elementor plus and/or Instapage Unbounce. That's it for this video. And then next we're going to be talking about optimization and scaling your campaigns. Take care.